We now invite His Excellency the High Commissioner to address you all.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Before I address you, I'd like to thank you, the most venerable members of the Mahasangha and the representatives of the Hindu faith, Christian faith, and the Muslim faith as the wonderful blessings that you've given us, and in particular the message that you conveyed, Swami Manse, about national unity and the need for us to be together as a country. We couldn't have had a more profound statement as we now embark on our 70th year of independence. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Miturani, ඔබ සෑම සාදරයෙන් පිළිගනිමු. சகோதர சகோதரிகளே, உங்களை அனைவரையும் அன்புடன் இன்றைக்கு வரவேற்றுகின்றேன். Distinguished guests, my fellow Sri Lankans, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this, our 70th anniversary of independence. There's very little that I can add to what has already been read out to you as the messages coming out from His Excellency the President, the Prime Minister, and the Minister for Foreign Affairs. It just reinforces the commitment of the National Unity Government to an era of prosperity based on mutual respect, human dignity, and equality. I have lived through it all in my country, and if someone were to ask me, what is the most significant lesson that you would have learned from these 70 years of independence, I would unhesitatingly say that no country can ever hope to achieve the true potential of its independence if that independence does not embrace each of its citizens equally. It was in 1948 that we gained independence, and we were on the threshold of becoming the showpiece of Asia. The promises were huge, and so was the potential. I do not want to labor what happened thereafter, but it's important to reflect on history very briefly and learn the lessons if we are to have a future. To reinforce that, 2 years later, the Foreign Minister of Australia, Percy Spender, along with our Finance Minister, J.R. Jayawardena, signed an agreement to launch the Colombo Plan, a very prestigious decision when there were so many countries in Asia that could have claimed right to it. There was a beautiful horizon ahead of us, and there was a highway that was laid out, and all we had to do was to traverse that highway and follow the rules. Unfortunately, we chose exits on that highway which were unnecessary, and completely lost our way with devastating consequences. But thankfully, we have now come back onto that same highway, and that horizon is still there for us. But the difference is, because of what has transpired over these 70 years, and particularly the last 30, the National Unity Government will need the assistance of each and every one of you to contribute towards that process of peace and reconciliation, which should be so fundamental for us to achieve economic prosperity as well. It was just last year that we celebrated 70 years of diplomatic ties with Australia. And I think most of you are aware of what really happened. It turned out to be perhaps the most eventful year in our relationship with Australia, over 70 years. And there were high-level visits which were reciprocated, but what was important was it was not just the goodwill, but the meaningful agreements that were signed between Sri Lanka and Australia, covering almost every area of need in our beautiful country. And in the process of that, Prime Minister referred to the strength of our relationship as being one that was based on mutual respect and trust. And I'll ask you please to reflect on those profound words, what it really means, mutual respect and trust. And indeed, isn't that what we owe each other? So as we move along, I think of what every mother, someone we all hold dear in our lives and look up to, has as a wish for her child when she brings that precious life into this world. Whether it be the highest in the monarchy or the poorest lady living in the remotest part of Sri Lanka and the poorest part, the love that mother has for her child is that that child must grow to be successful, be healthy, and live in an environment that is fair, just, and equal. I'll ask you please to reflect on that. And that is what it means to care and to love. Because never forget that birth is not a choice. I will remind you, as I said before, it is a chance. And it is unacceptable that any human life should ever be discriminated against on account of an event over which he or she has no choice. And if ever we choose to look down on a fellow human being, then let us do that only because we want to give him our hand to raise him up. You know the line, I stopped crying for a new pair of shoes when I met a man who had no feet, is a reminder to each and every one of us that this world we live in is divided between the fortunate and the unfortunate. And it is mandatory that those of us who fall into the category of the fortunate must make a meaningful contribution to the lives of those who are on the other side of the divide. So I thank you very much, and I know how you have come forward to support this mission, the people in Canberra. In fact, on the 29th of April 2017, when we commemorated the 70th anniversary of our diplomatic relations, to the very day, over 100 of you came forward to donate blood. And I've shared this with parliamentarians, with the Governor General, and it surprised them pleasantly, but that is who we really are as Sri Lankans. We are caring, we are loving, we are compassionate. And that gesture was a gesture of unconditional love, because 100 Sri Lankans in Canberra donated something that was so precious to them, to an unknown beneficiary whom they will probably never meet, whose life they may have eventually saved. And that is who we are as Sri Lankans. So let's together do what we can to support this national unity government of ours, so that those of our fellow Sri Lankans who are left behind, who have suffered so much, who have endured so much as a result of this conflict, can at least now have an opportunity to move forward and and compensate themselves for what they have lost, and to have the kind of life that you and I would like to have for ourselves. I thank you again for your presence. May God bless our beautiful country, all of its people, and the people of the Commonwealth of Australia. Thank you.